Mr. Cage's thought of the day. I don't know how y'all do it. What do I mean? I don't know how y'all do it. You young guys dating? Because it's rough out there. You will hear that statement coming from elders, older people, or people that have been married for a substantial period of time in regards to how we deal with the dating scene. Because it can be very, very challenging. When the statement was given to me, my first counter statement or response was, I don't. But what I meant was, I don't deal with other people's mess. What that means is that if you spill milk, if you have a mess and it's your responsibility to clean it up, I will not clean it up. That translates into whatever emotional brokenness or pieces that I have going on internally. When you and I interact and those emotional wounds manifest and come to the surface, aka spilled milk, I am not holding you responsible for cleaning up my mess. I'm gonna take responsibility for cleaning up my mess. If you say it's a mess, I'm gonna consider that, because if you're close to me and we building, that may be what it is. And once it's identified from an outside source, I'm going to take the responsibility to own that, not let it own me, but I'm gonna invest more energy in the cleanup, in the growth and development. How does that transpire? I need to get in contact with someone who can help me and not be isolated, secluded, and aloof, and get the help that's necessary for my mess, not yours, because I'm not responsible for your mess. I'm responsible for mine. What we find through observation and experience is that people, and as I read from my notes, because I want to be precise and give us what we need, because there's a lot of conversation in the space of the internet about relationships. Some of the conversations are valid, some of the conversations are not. But this conversation that I'm going to give is going to address the root. Because once you address the root, the fruit will change, the outcome will change. If we try to use these different methods, coping mechanisms, skills that we have learned from watching people on the internet, it may not work. We want to address the root of the issue. The root is this: people are broken, and it is not realized until they get close in terms of interacting with someone on a consistent basis. If I have an issue internally of brokenness in me, it lies dormant until I come into contact with the right person that will bring that issue up to the surface, that dormant issue that was asleep. Now it's awakened when I interact with that person on a consistent basis. Things that lie dormant come to the surface, and we have the tendency to run when this broken area, this emotional wound, this rejection, this abandonment, this deep hurt, resentment, and rejection, when these issues come to the surface through constant interaction with someone that was sent to bring those issues up, I push the responsibility on that individual or I run. The problem is we can never run from an issue that is internal. I repeat, we can never run from an issue that is internal. We can suppress it, we can deny it, we can push the responsibility of cleaning up the spilled milk to the person that we interacted with. But, and as I shared with somebody this week, that bill will eventually have to get paid. we're gonna eventually have to cash out. I can postpone a bill. Let's bring it in a practical sense. I can postpone my internet bill because I may not have the money to pay it. But eventually, I'm going to have to pay that tab, or else that internet service is going to get cut off. In a relationship context, if the wound or issue comes up to the surface and I push the buck or blame on somebody else to clean up my spilled milk, I will eventually have to pay that bill. I will eventually have to reach into a place of introspection, sacrifice, humility, and deal with that issue. The issue needs to be confronted because my mentor will say to us, whatever we tolerate today will rule over us tomorrow. Moving forward in the conversation. Also, we don't get close enough to people relationally to get the help we need to have a healthy relationship with someone. We can never say that we don't have people in our lives, practically, not people on the internet, not people that you never know or that you may not ever come into contact with. We can never say that in our lives we don't have physical, tangible people that we can go to for assistance. We just have a couple of issues. One of the issues that we have is preference. My preference is not to go to that person because I don't want them to know all my business. Well, they don't have to know all of my business to see that the business that I have is not working because I'm not in a healthy relationship. I'm not married. I'm not committed at this point. It's something other going on. And for my life, one of the best methods I can give you is getting a suggestion or insight from an outside source because it's difficult to make adjustments in the game when you playing. But when there's somebody on the bench, a coach that can see, that person can put you to the side and ask questions and stir up your thinking to help us resolve that issue. Remember, issues are resolved. External issues that need to be resolved have to first be resolved internally. Then, lastly, we have the issue of not trusting people because we had an experience, a bad experience, when we divulged or gave some sensitive information to someone else and they told somebody or they weren't faithful or they didn't hold the situation, experience, or story confidentially. Okay, are we going to allow that to hold us hostage? Are we going to allow the past to hold our future hostage as far as how we think and our mentality? If we desire to have these healthy relationships for real, we have to position ourselves to roll the dice. We have to take a gamble because obviously what we have been doing up to this point has not worked because we can see that the outcome we desire, we lack. My challenge is do something different. But first, we have to think different before we can do different and be different. We have to think different to do different to be different. Being is who we are. When the issues come up to the surface, stop running because you can't run from an issue inside of you. It has to be addressed. If it's not addressed, it lies dormant, and we will continue to make the same decisions because it's connected to our mentality, which equates to our perception. And lastly, be open to individuals. What we don't want to do is this. When a conflict ensues between us and a person, we want to go to people and say what the other person did. That means that we are attempting to help that person clean up their mess. But I'm not responsible for your mess. I'm responsible for mine. And as I'm responsible for mine and willing to take accountability and responsibility and walk in maturity and demonstrate that that issue can be resolved, hopefully and prayerfully, it'll help you resolve your issue. So I'm giving that to you as some insight because it is hard. I don't know how we do it, but we can change it when we change our mind.